head coach Josh Wolff. As usual, would appreciate if you can mute yourself. Laura's working right now through the permission to record. Use the reactions button so you can request your turn for your question. As soon as we start seeing those, there you go. Ben Bear, we'll get through it. Thank you very much. Ben Bear, go ahead.
Hi, Josh. The club has conceded 8 goals in 7 games so far. I believe that's the second lowest total, so by an expansion team through 7 games. Why do you think your team has been so successful, despite having to rotate players both along the back line and missing Alex for a game? And why do you think that's maybe progressed a little faster than the attack?
It's a good question. Thanks for the positive side of that. I really appreciate that. That was nice. I think there's a level of control you want to have when you have the ball and when you don't have the ball. And obviously I know we're giving up chances. I know we're giving up shots. I thought last game we had certainly did a better job of managing a very good team and minimizing some of the opportunities that they had. But it takes work. It takes work on both sides of the ball. And the offensive stuff is typically, more challenging to get in place. And I think we've seen a lot of positives from building up from goalie and progressing attacks, and that finishing the attacks has been difficult. And obviously some of that has to do with some of our personnel and limitations to having, all of our guys available all the time, but it's not an excuse. We've created some good chances. We should have scored more goals, but the defensive side again is very much a collective outfit. And we started with a bit of a 4-3-3 and certainly the ways that we want to press and build pressure. And, certain teams cause us more problems and certainly Seattle challenged us. We did move our structure a little bit in that game and we'll continue to evolve that. We have to, because there's different teams, different coaches, different tactics every week in this league. And the idea was to get through this first 7 games and see what we are, see who we are, see what those players are. And some of it's been good. Again, there's high pressing, there's mid block, and there's low block. So I think there's been some successes in each of those phases in some of the games, but certainly against Kansas City in the past, against LA, we had a difficult time keeping the ball to one side, not allowing them off the sideline. So those are things we talk about. We try to get better at, because if you're able to do that, you can minimize your exposure on the weak side. But collectively, again, I think we try to create a good set of principles to defend with, whether that's mid block or recovery and low block. And I think that's what helps when we do have rotations, whether it's Julio and Johan and Matt, whether it was Hector, Ben Sweat, Nick, even Aiden. So the defensive principles are there to help give guidance and problem solve, but give, clear ways that we want to deal with certain situations that are pretty structured and organized amongst the group. So it's not just random acts, random decisions on random acts, but I appreciate it. 8 goals in 7 games, not the worst. We got to score some more goals, Ben. I won't lie. We got to score some more goals. Yep. And we're working on it.
Thanks for the answer.
You bet.
Thank you, Ben. Babalu?
Yeah, Josh, I assume you watched the U.S.-Mexico game on Sunday night. I'm curious how much you can remove yourself from coaching, scouting, that kind of stuff, and how much you're just like a fan. Like how much does that?
Zero. What I've realized is becoming a coach is you're analyzing from the moment the game comes on. What's one team trying to do to the other, and how is that team, whether it's offensively, what are they trying to do? And then defensively, what are they trying to do? So right away, you could see, having been inside that world with Greg and certainly against Tata, there's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of fluidity in Mexico. There's a lot of fluidity in the way that Tata plays. So I've seen the structures that we've played in against those types of opponents. And you knew right away from the lineup that there was going to be some ability to be flexible, and that's needed at a high level. And it was exciting. It was an intense game. It's a final, so it was gritty, grindy. It wasn't sexy or aesthetically pleasing all the time, but you love to see the competing from both sides. That looked more like what Mexico-US used to look like back in the day. And, that was nice to see. It got a little ugly at the end, but you love the willingness from the guys to compete, and try to play the way that Greg wants them to play. And there's going to be moments of that. And there's also going to be moments where you got to roll it up and you got to answer the bell and you got to fight and grind. And you like seeing that. Coming from behind a couple of times is never easy, and weathering the fans, weathering the ref, it's challenging, but it was good. It was a great game to see. That's the intensity that, when you're playing for championships, you're playing for qualifying. That's what it starts to look like. It's not easy, and it's by no means is it always going to be beautiful.
Roger Wallace, followed by Kyle Dalton.
Hey, Josh, how important was this week from a mental standpoint, physical? I mean, you're heading into another tough stretch. You'll never have the 7 straight road games, but you got some midweek games mixed in the next month. So I imagine that was a pretty important break, not only physically, but emotionally.
Yeah, it was. It was especially coming back. I mean, we played Seattle, we grinded, we got back at about 5 a.m. after that. So there's already issues trying to recover just from that. So the guys got some time off, the coaches got a little time off, and we put some work in through the weekend and gave them off yesterday and got back at it today. But it's important, and we're hopeful to get some guys back. We're certainly light on numbers right now, which is concerning, but we're hopeful that we can get some of these guys back. But as you said, the stretch is coming where we get a lot of games at home, but they will start coming quickly. And we got to be quite mindful of that, getting our guys fresh, getting them up to speed with what the games are going to look like. But I expect more energy, certainly more atmosphere at home for ourselves. It's been tough being on the road, but we got to keep perspective. Teams don't go on the road and win 10 games in this league. So, we put ourselves in some positions to win some games, come away with some points. We probably left some points out there, but there's been some positive growth, and we got to keep growing. We're nowhere close to a final product, but we're looking forward to getting home, obviously. But getting home doesn't mean you flip a switch and score a bunch of goals. We got to keep working, keep grinding, and be more efficient in some areas in and around goal.
Hey, Josh. So you guys have a couple of clean sheets this year, including your last outing in Seattle against a tough team we all know about. So talk to me about Brad Stuver and just what he's meant to the team, and, kind of an unknown coming in, and how his performance how you view his performance and grade it for so far this year.
His performance has been fantastic. I've known Brad, obviously, from our time in Columbus. And again, he continued his growth and development in a very good environment in New York City with the likes of Patrick Vieira and certainly Dome Torrance. So there's a way that he's been exposed to the game that we felt confident that he could come in and now contribute to. And between him and Andrew, there was always going to be competition, for who's going to be the starter. And for Brad, he's never had that chance to be the out and out starter. And that was part of the ideas of coming here. These two guys could compete for it. And I think he certainly edged out Andrew in through preseason, and he's taken it and run with it to some degree. His performance, his calmness in goal, playing through pressure, making good decisions when we want to play long or when we can play short, and then just his shot stopping. I think that's something that's probably stood out the most. He's made some very good saves, kept us in some games, and I think that's that has a lot to do with his focus right now and where he's at. But his performance have been very solid, very consistent, and in the middle of the field and your back line, you want that consistency, that belief that, if something breaks down, we still have guys that can manage it. If situations are difficult, we can take our time, make good decisions. And he's been that. Him and Matt have done a good job, Alex as well. So the back line's, a couple shutouts. We'd like to get a few more, but it's not easy. It's not easy in this league on the road.
Thank you, Kyle. Chris Bills, followed by Zach Smith.
Hi, Josh. I hear the striker. We've been kind of using this international break to sort of, I guess, take stock of where we're at and think back to, some of the principles that we kind of started out with, where we can do better, things like that. I wonder if you guys, it kind of got me thinking about whether you guys might be doing something similar with these couple weeks. I know, not the longest break in the world, but at least a few days where you don't have to immediately turn around and face a new opponent. Just wondering what you've learned, and if you guys are sort of doing some of that, where you feel like this team's at compared to where you thought you'd be at the beginning, and what you've sort of learned, and maybe how that's changed.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think the first 7 games is a pretty good round. Again, going on the road, knowing you're playing 7 games against the opponents that we've played, I'm protective of the idea that it's not easy to go on the road and win games. It's not easy to go on the road and score a bunch of goals. So I think we have more goals than we've put on the board. And we need to get better at certainly some components of defending. We've had a couple shutouts. And, there's been some games where we've been under a lot of duress and we weren't able to manage the game. But I think offensively, again, build up from goalie, progressing attacks has been pretty solid. Finishing attacks, getting numbers in and around the box, having the right calm, or now the urgency in certain moments to how we want to get around the edges or finish with numbers in the box, not just crossing from sidelines. So we've talked a bit about that since, we had these three days off, and we've had a few days to get back to work. So it wasn't a huge break, but it was a chance to look at that. And then certainly some of the defending. I think we've given up a lot of shots. We haven't given up a lot of goals, but we've given up a lot of shots. And again, certain phases of how can we prevent the opponent from progressing? There's high pressing and there's mid block, but when we're in mid block, how can we prevent them when we do have good numbers and we are in decent spots where we let them off the line or let them off? When that happens, we get into real big trouble in some certain areas. So it's identifying that and also trying to guide guys through what that looks like in our 4-3-3, or if we have to shift to a 4-2-3-1 or in a 4-4-2, and some of these things that we'll start to, again, you need some flexibility, both offensively and defensively. We've shown a little bit offensively. Defensively, we're going to need to keep working and evolving as well. But pleased to get a shutout in Seattle, really tough place. And, Nashville was disappointing, gave up a couple decent chances, but also had a few good chances and could have came away with something there. But, there's plenty to keep working on, but there is progress. And I'm not trying to be positive, Paulie, but there is some good in there. And we know we got to keep working. We got a good group here, and now we're navigating some injuries as well. So, everyone's being utilized, and we got a lot of teaching and growth to still be done.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go ahead with Zach, followed by Phil West.
Hey, Josh. So I've been looking at Sporting KC a little bit. This is different from every other team you've played. You've seen this team, you've been there. Does that make this week and kind of preparing for this game any different or easier? I mean, obviously some players have played other MLS teams, but like this Austin FC as a group has seen Sporting KC. How does that change things?
Well, I think there's a familiarity of the environment that we're going into. Certainly the way that Kansas City plays. I mean, they're a well-oiled machine. I mean, they have the way they play. They don't deviate from that too much, and they'll make subtle changes in there. But they're a very good group. Offensively, they have real good ideas. They spread you out. They have a few ways they can hurt you, and they did that against us last time. But we also went there and caused some problems and found ways to hurt them. And certainly in the second half, first 5 minutes, we had a chance to knock them out. And, we didn't do that, whether it was with CC or with Jared and some of the transition. Not saying we didn't give up chances, but those are the moments that you got to take and make the most of. And I think guys will understand it's going to be a challenging team. They're a good team. They're one of the best teams in the league. They have been historically. And we got to be mindful of some of the areas and what they're trying to do offensively that we can be a little bit more buttoned up, a little tougher to play against, which I thought we brought in a better way against Seattle. So that's something that we got to be aware of. And then offensively, again, understanding how we can adjust to their pressure. They're going to high press us. We know that. And how can we, utilize the ball, but our positioning to hurt them, because those moments were there for us. And we did a good job for the most part against them. And they made it challenging in the second half at times. So I expect them to do a bit of that, what they did in the second half, a little higher pressing, a little harder pressing, and releasing some guys in different spots. So we've looked at it, as you said, that there's some familiarity. So those are things we're looking at, but by no means does it make it any easier. It's going to be challenging. And, again, they're going to be a full house. They're a good team, and we got to go in there with a real clear picture of what it's going to look like and how we have to match the intensity, and then you start to be able to play.
Phil West, go ahead, followed by Babalu.
Hey, thanks, Mauricio. Hey, Josh. Just want to ask a little bit about the set piece defense preparations for this week. I mean, that obviously played a role in the last game against SKC, and I'm sure by now you've had a chance to see the Buzio free kick goal from the last game. That seems like that would be nightmare fuel for an opposing coach.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you're doing about the Busio goal, though. So you can put a big wall in there. It's going to be tough to stop it when he puts it off the top corner and in. It was a fantastic goal, but they did score a goal against us on set pieces. And for us, that was the adjust we made. We brought in a sub, and we had Julio in a spot that he probably could have been in a better spot to help us there. But what I've liked with us defending set pieces, we've gotten much better since the beginning of the year. Again, we gave up some chances early. We gave up a goal against certainly against Colorado, and a decent chance or two against LA. But from that point, I think we've done a very solid job. Julio does a good job in there. Obviously, Tomas does a good job, and Alex, Johan, if he's in there, all these guys can again, they've gotten a bit better with our positioning, our aggressiveness to attack the ball. And I think we've had good growth on that. So they're a good team. They can certainly hurt. Bucio's direct free kicks are very good. Certainly Johnny Russell is able to hit good set pieces also. So there's a handful of guys that can put you under pressure, and they got a couple targets that can hurt you. So we got to be buttoned up. It's an area I think we've gotten better at, but we got to, be very good at.
Josh, do you think there will be an added confidence going back there, knowing how well you played for the first 60, 65 minutes of that one? And I know it's not revenge or extra motivation or anything, but just that knowledge that you kind of had them right where you wanted them on the road and getting another opportunity to go back there. Do you think your players will feel that a little bit?
I think so. That was the message I left them with when we left there. Remember this feeling right now. Remember that disappointment. And sure, we were down a guy and we had the lead, and I take responsibility for that as well. That's not just on the players, but I make decisions, and we as a staff try to set up the group now when we did go down a guy to give us the best chance to win. But both teams had good opportunities in that game, but we were in a position to come away with points and we didn't. So, I said that leaving there. I said that as we started training here again this week. There's going to be opportunity. It's going to be a challenging game, but if we go there and present ourselves in the same light, with the same energy, the same intensity, and the same willingness to play, we'll give ourselves opportunities, and we got to get better in some other areas. But I think they'll feel a little bit of confidence, but it's a tough place to go. Fans are going to be fired up for it. Their coaches, everybody in that arena gets going, and it's exciting, it's intense, and it's games you like to be part of. So I think our guys will be fired up for it again.
Salvador Perez, followed by Jeff Jones.
Thank you. Hello, Josh. How are you? Salvador Perez. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. A couple of questions. First of all, you are going to face a team like Sporting Kansas City with the absence of a player like Alan Pulido. He is going to be part of the Mexican national team on this Friday on their friendly match. What do we can expect from Austin FC for this match against Sporting Kansas City, considering that their forward, that their star won't be part of this match? And the second question about the match between the Mexican national team and the United States national team. This was like a showcase that what do the United States national teams can do against the Mexican national team, because a lot of people criticize the United States, criticize the MLS, but this was like a showcase that what the United States national team and the United States football can do. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the first thing with Pulido being absent, or possibly being absent, Kansas City's still a good team. So they got plenty of guys that can hurt you. And he's a good player. Obviously, he's got a good amount of goals already this year. But he's a key component for them. But they have guys that can fill in, and they got a number of guys that are playing well right now. So either way, they'll put out a very good team. They'll come and give everything they got, which we fully expect, and which is why they are where they are. They're doing really well in the league, and I think it's going to be a challenging game, be an exciting game, and again, our guys will be up for it. There's no doubt about it. The Mexico-U.S. game, again, it's a rivalry. So right away, the players that are part of our U.S. team, there's domestic players that are part of MLS. There's players that are from, our international players that play abroad, and it's a good group. It's a good team. It's a young group. They're still growing and developing, but they have qualities there. And what you saw most in this game against Mexico was the willingness to compete and to fight for it and to challenge against a very good team. Mexico's always had quality in the way they play, but it wasn't an aesthetically pleasing game. Both teams fought very hard and were reluctant to give up on anything. Possession was a premium. It wasn't a lot of quality possession, but we fought our way into it, fought our way back into it. And then again, I think both teams had moments where it was pretty good, but it was good to see the U.S. again in a strong light. And it wasn't going to be about the beautiful game. It was going to be about the competing and what a final looks like. And that's that was nice to see our guys come out on top. Always good to beat Mexico.
Sorry for the question, Josh, but the people. A victory on the Gold Cup can be important for the development of USA soccer. Victory on the Gold Cup, over over the Mexican national team can be a good result for the USA team. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this was in the Nations League. The Gold Cup will provide another one, but these are huge. I think these are the huge opportunities for our young players to experience exactly what CONCACAF looks like, playing against Honduras and the antics that game brought, how difficult it was, how physical it was, and similar against Mexico. I mean, it's a challenging playing in CONCACAF. None of these teams, Mexico, Costa Rica, Honduras, they're not going to give an inch against us ever, and that's something for our guys to learn. And our young guys got exposed to that. They got exposed to it in the Honduras game. They really saw it again against Mexico, and those games are critical for for our development as a country with our players. And you have an idea what it's going to look like and feel like, but when these players get in that environment and now have to deal with the emotion, deal with the intensity, stay calm and still be thinking and make good actions, that's the experience that allows for growth. And I think, again, this will go a long way. These two games, as difficult as they were, will go a long ways to ensuring that our players feel good about and are prepared for what qualifying is going to look like. And the Gold Cup's another great opportunity. Difficult games that come quickly and against good opponents.
Jeff Jones, followed by Jorge Turralde.
Josh, a moment ago, you said that the idea was to make it through the first 7 games and then see who you are. Who is this team, and what surprised you most about what you've seen through 7 matches? Yeah,
well, we're a team still in work in progress. But again, I like the way that we go on the road and we try to play, we attempt to play. It's not possession at all costs. We know, part of it is about scoring goals and creating goals. So what I know is we're comfortable playing, we're comfortable competing with these teams, going into tough venues and being proactive. And the difficulty becomes finishing and scoring goals. And again, we've left some goals out there. We haven't scored enough goals, and I want us to create more goal scoring chances. And that's on the individual level as well as the collective. Defensively, again, I think I think there's been really good moments. We're set up in a 4-3-3. We've adjusted that a couple times in some of the games. And it's been pretty good at times. And at other times we've been exposed, but that also causes us to revisit, to reteach, to redefine. And, going into Seattle, again, that was a difficult opponent going into a tough place. And again, we were able to grind and fight and certainly be a little bit tougher to play against. And those are the things that I think are the biggest takeaways in the first 7. How can we be more efficient, more urgent, more proactive to finish off attacks and score more goals? And then 2, be more aggressive, be more difficult to play against, whether that's through high pressing or good organization in mid block. But just being a bit more difficult, a bit more combative when we need that bite. And I think we've made some strides in that, but we got to keep getting better.
Early in the season, you told us that your main focus was to make sure your team was relentless. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you see that in this team?
Well, I think against Seattle, it was definitely on display. Our ability to go in there and compete, and it was a very good opponent. And again, it was fairly open. I think either team could take it in the end. And we know we're on the road, so you got to be able to compete. You have to be able to be organized. And some points you got to get a little bit lucky. And we've been unlucky to not get as many goals as we'd like. But there's been a lot of quality. It's tough to go on the road. I mean, you can't say enough about. It's just words when I say them here, but as players and as teams and as coaches, we know in this league it's difficult to come away with points on the road, and we've been able to get some, but we've also know we left some on the board. And the relentless attitude is something that we're going to have to continue to push, relentlessly trying to score goals, relentlessly trying to prevent goals. But it's been there. It's certainly been there in moments. We love for it to be there all the time, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Thank you, Jeff. Jorge Turralde, followed by Chris Bills, and we'll close with Eric Goodman.
Hi, Josh. Going back a little bit with Mexico and USA, what do you think about the level of the new generation of American players, and if you can kind of compare with the 2002 national team and having all these players playing on Europe on important teams, what benefit will be for the MLS?
Well, I think this is this era, there's more talented players than in 2002. What's lacking, I guess, was in 2002 there was just a better balance of talent and ages through that, where you had young, hungry talent, Landon and DeMarcus. You had, Pablo Mastroeni, Clint Mathis, myself. And then you had Greg Berhalter, Claudio. You had Ernie Stewart, Brian McBride. So there was just a broader scope of talent and kind of a better balance. Right now, we have a lot of extremely talented players under the age of 23, and they're getting experiences in great leagues. They're getting experiences in great competitions. That's not to say we don't have players that are 23 to 33 that aren't any good, but we have a lot of young players, and I think that bodes well for the future. And I think our domestic players see those players making an impact globally. I think that helps our league and our ambitions as individuals within MLS, but also the desire to keep proving themselves here, and also providing other opportunities for players to go abroad if that's what they so choose. But it creates, again, I think it's starting. What you saw in these two games was just that. There's a level of quality there that still needs to come together. The national team is extremely challenging because you have such a small time to really put them together and assemble them. But they were able to do that and capture a championship. But it's a really good era of youth, or of the U.S. players, and I think it's only going to continue to get better. And these experiences will go a long way in their growth and development.
And it will be a benefit to the MLS?
Well, I think it is, because again, these players, MLS players, are going into these camps playing with these international players. I mean, they're lining up. Sebastian Leget's playing alongside Christian Pulisic, and you see, and now you respect that level with Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams, and that, again, the more opportunity there are for these games and these players to be together, that exposure to the game at a high level and the detail and the professionalism and the intensity helps our domestic players understand that and see that and taste that. And, it probably lights a fire for a lot of players as well, whether they're in the national team now or they're the players that are coming up through the national team that are part of MLS.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Josh, Kansas City's obviously had a good run of form since you guys saw them last. How much better does this team look to you? And what do you think of the idea that they might be the best team in the league, at least until Seattle gets Nico Ladero back?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, who's the best in the league. There's a number of really good teams, and Kansas City's one of them. They were good when we played them. They've maintained that form and probably picked it up a little bit. So they're playing at home in a lot of those games, and they've gotten great results. They're a good team. They're extremely good at home. And, I saw them lose, obviously, going on the road to Houston shortly after they played us. But that's, again, that's part of what makes our league really unique. But they're a good team. I mean, there's not much more you can say about it. How they've evolved. Again, I think Bucio is playing really well. There's a number of players that are playing well for him. Ili Sanchez is doing a good job in the back line. They're very stable. Zusi's fit for him. So there's a number of guys that help stabilize them. And, regardless if they have all their guys or one or two guys are missing, they're going to be a good team. So it's a good opportunity for us. It's challenge. I say it all the time. It's challenging going on the road. Going into this venue is probably one of the tougher ones, but it's also exciting as a player and as a coach to go there, because there's good energy and it's an intense atmosphere.
Eric Goodman.
Hey, Josh, I know you said you were analyzing and dialed in, but Gio scores that crucial goal. They show Claudio in the stands. I mean, you're a soccer dad. What kind of moment, what can that mean? How are you feeling when you saw that for him? And have you had a chance to speak with him since you got back from Denver?
Yeah, I think you saw what that emotion is like. You're a parent. You're no longer like, if your son's in that moment, you're definitely more invested in. There's a different emotion in it. And even when I watch my kids play now, it's you try to put away the coach hat, but they are your children, and there's something beautiful about watching your children compete. And what you saw with Claudio and Danielle was exactly that. Like, that's a real, true, authentic emotion. And Claudio's a guy that's played in, I don't know, the biggest and most important games in the world, and watching his son play and get a goal against an opponent like Mexico in a cup final, or at least a final, a competition final. That's euphoria. That's great. And it's exciting. Claudio was here today. We were talking about it. And, he said it was a wild scene. It was a wild scene. It was a wild environment, the intensity. It was a final. I mean, that's that's what it looked like. And well, we were all watching it as well. I was with Sebastian, and my oldest son was here with us, and same thing. We were yelling at the TV as soon as it went in. So there's always excitement. Those are great times. Those are great games against them, and those are great moments. As a parent, it's a lot to take in.
Is Gio a target in the summer transfer window? Coming down to Austin?
I would love for that to be the case. I would love for that to be the case. But I think he's got a home already. He's got a home already.
Thanks, Josh.
You bet.
Thank you very much, Josh. With that, we conclude today's media availability.